Good day everyone. Our topic for today is all about analyze the various work of Dr. Rizal, particularly in his two novels, which is the Noli Tangere and El Filibusterismo. At the end of this unit, the students are able to analyze the various work of Dr. Rizal, particularly in his two books, determine the significant events in Rizal's life from birth to execution that molded his nationalism and patriotism, discuss the historical and cultural context in Dr. Rizal's mission and travel around the world. We have the El Filibusterismo and Noli Tangere, or the twin books, which is the famous books that carve the name of Dr. Rizal in our history. These books become his lifetime achievement and his non-violent revolution for the freedom of his beloved country. The country that he offered his life for his belief that liberty will be achieved with the use of pen, for the pen is mightier than a double-edged sword. Why Dr. Rizal wrote this novel? One of the reasons why he made this book because of his mother. She was being a victim of gross injustice at the hand of the vindictive Spanish official of the Guardia Civil, and also to defend the Filipino from foreign accusation of foolishness and lack of knowledge, to show how the Filipino people lives during Spanish colonial period and the cries and wounds of the countrymen against abuse officials, to discuss what religion and belief can really do everyday life, and to expose the cruelties, graft, and corruption of the false government, and honestly show the wrongdoings of Filipino that lead to further failure. Noli Tangere was the first book of Dr. Rizal. He finished that Noli in 1887 and published 2,000 copies in Berlin. Noli Tangere in Latin words in English means touch me not, taken from the John chapter 20 verse 17, when Mary Magdalene holds onto Jesus and he tells her not to touch him. John chapter 20 verse 17, Jesus said to her, "Stop clinging to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father, but be on your own way to my brothers, and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and to your Father, and to my God and to your God." Noli Tangere is important to the Filipino for many reasons. First is that it was written by our national hero. Rizal was not just a hero but a brave martyr and inspiration for all youth. His book was the catalyst to start the impending power of the Filipino to want freedom and independence. His work was an instrumental that unified the Filipino national identity and consciousness. Rizal's book made a lot of noise. Noli Tangere and its sequel El Filibusterismo has gone down to history.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lian Ermolida, and I will be your reporter for this topic called Noli Tangere. Noli Tangere was the first book of Dr. Jose Rizal that was published, one of the books that became his lifetime achievement. Now, the other book is what we call the El Filibusterismo. Now, El Filibusterismo and Noli Tangere was one of the famous books that carved the name of Dr. Rizal in our history. Now, Noli Tangere also is one of his non-violent revolution for the freedom of his beloved country, which is the Philippines. Now, the main character here is Chrysostom Ibarra, which was believed to be an alter ego of Dr. Rizal. Now, here is the plot of Noli Tangere. The novel revolved around the protagonist Chrysostom Ibarra, an illustratus whose bloodline was a mixture of Spanish, Mestizo, and Filipino that came from a wealthy family in the Philippines in Calamba. He went to Europe to study. Now, we all know that Dr. Rizal is an intelligent person, and because he came from a wealthy family, he had the chance or the opportunity to study abroad. Upon returning home, he dreamed of lifting the life of his brethren, but confronted by the Spanish hierarchy, including the Spanish civil administration and the ecclesiastical hierarchy of his town. The father of Crisostomo, Don Rafael, died before his homecoming. This event were tragic when his father died and was refused to be buried in a Catholic cemetery by the parish priest, of course, Padre Damaso. He almost killed the priest that caused his excommunication and the annulment of his wedding with Maria Clara. Maria Clara was the sweetheart of Crisostomo. She was known to be the daughter of Capitan Tiago, but in reality, she was the daughter of Padre Damaso. Capitan Tiago was the one who adopted her and kept the secret of Padre Damaso. The marriage of Crisostomo and Maria Clara was cancelled due to Ibarra's attack on the priest. Because of that, Maria Clara was bestowed to another man, but she insisted on becoming a nun rather than marrying another man. Of course, with the help of Padre Damaso, known to be his father, biological father. Maria Clara became a nun, but it just ruined her, for she became a carnal slave of Padre Salvi, who sought sexual relations with her. Now, the philosopher in the story emphasizes that the worry of the conquerors of the enlightenment of the Filipinos. It would be the beginning of the nightmare of Spaniards and the rise of the Filipinos. That is why Spaniards will subjugate the Filipinos at all costs. As the story goes, Ibarra met Elias, who is convincing him to revolt and fight against the tyrants. Elias believed that the sufferings of the Filipinos were too much, and that revolt and violence was the only way for freedom. As the enemies of Ibarra planned to create a fake insurrection blaming him, Maria Clara helped them, as she was used as a trap on protecting the secret of betraying Ibarra. Of course, Ibarra had no choice but to escape. With the help of Elias, Ibarra escaped the Guardia Civil, but they were chased going to the lake. Elias needs to jump into the water to pretend to be Ibarra, and he was shot and at the near shore and died, and buried by Basilio beside his mother, and still Ibarra escaped. Now that's all. Regine Tante will continue to discuss about the next topic. Thank you.
So, I will be reporting the attack and defense. Rizal's Noli was written for the foreign colonizers to detect the wrongdoing. The language of the novel was directed more to the Spaniards, especially to the Catholic Church. Noli Tangere was an illustration of the immoral conduct and manipulations of the Church. Meanwhile, the Pili was directed more Rizal's countrymen, but both novels showcase an extraordinary command of the language to better portray nationalism and to inform the Filipinos about racial discrimination that the Philippines faced. The Noli Tangere was a charter of nationalism. It's because it encouraged Filipinos to know their values in their own homeland. It called for the use of education to mold minds about what was truly wrong or right, and to know which ideology to put into practice.
Good evening, guys. My topic to be discussed today will be the characters of Noli Tangere. Crisostomo Ibarra, full name is Juan Crisostomo Ibarra y Magsalin. He is also known as Jeweler Simeon. He is the fiancé of Maria Clara and has a role as a protagonist in the novel of Noli Tangere. Crisostomo Ibarra was born into the Ibarra family raised by his father, Don Rafael. Ibarra was an earnest and idealistic young man influenced by his European education. He sought to improve the country. As part of this, he believed in the power of education. He is a man with becomes very violent and impulsive when provoked, when it comes to her father and her loved ones. He could also be annoyed and people went against his wishes. Ibarra is a reflection of Rizal himself. Maria Clara, full name is Maria Clara de los Santos. She is a mestiza. Her name and character has since become a byword in Filipino culture for the traditional and feminine idea. Maria Clara is a religious woman. She portrayed as a faithful sweetheart and a good friend and an obedient daughter. He had a childish simplicity. She symbolizes the purity and innocence of the sheltered native woman. She gets easily nervous. Her character in the novel is related to the Rizal's childhood sweetheart, Leonor Rivera. Padre Damaso was the former town curate of San Diego and the real father of Maria Clara. He raped Doña Pia, Maria Clara's mother. He is a brash and arrogant individual due to the power afforded to him for being a friar. He acted superior to others and was opposed to natives receiving education abroad. He continually antagonized Ibarra and prevents his marriage to Maria Clara. Padre Salve was the town curate of San Diego and the successor of Padre Damaso. Possessing a rivalry with the town's alferez, he later orchestrated the downfall of Crisostomo Ibarra, manipulating the townspeople in the process. He is described to be very thin and sickly. He manipulates people to get what he wants. The Franciscan curate of San Diego secretly harboring lust for Maria Clara. Elias was a fugitive living in San Diego, enduring one tragedy after another. He began working to improve society. After his life was saved by Crisostomo Ibarra, he began aiding the young man, saving him on numerous occasions. Elias was a selfless man, bound by a code of honor, growing up wealthy. He was initially an arrogant individual. His quarreling with a relative and beating up in his disguised father was emblematic of this. After losing everything and learning the true history of his family, Elias dedicated himself to helping those also oppressed by society. Elias represents the common Filipino in the novel. He prefers a revolution over the reforms. He distrusts human's judgment and prefers God's justice instead. He is said to be the personification of Andres Bonifacio in the novel. Capitan Tiago is the husband of Doña Pia, mother of Maria Clara. Capitan Tiago was an influential businessman in San Diego. He is said to be the good Catholic friend of the Spanish government who symbolizes the rich Filipinos who oppress their fellow countrymen. Sisa is the deranged mother of Basilio and Crispin. She is described as a beautiful and young woman who loves her children but cannot protect them from the beatings of her husband. Sisa, in the novel, is personified as the suffering of the motherland. Rizal named Sisa in the novel after her older sister Narcissa. Sisa went from one traumatic event to another, causing her eventually to lose her sanity due to mental burden. This insanity manifested in her wandering around San Diego, calling out her children's name and singing songs out of nowhere. Basilio is a 10-year-old and acolyte tasked to ring the church bells for the Angelus. He is the son of Sisa, the presented innocents who were wrongly accused of crimes they did not commit. Their story was based on the true tale of Crisostomo brothers of Hagonoy. Basilio was an optimistic and hopeful individual in spite of hardship he faced. At a young age, Basilio demonstrated a certain maturity, aware of his father's abuse towards his mother, and recognizing the need to find his family after he was taken in by Celo. As part of this maturity, Basilio dreamed of becoming a herdsman for Crisostomo Ibarra and eventually worked in the fields in order to lift his family out of poverty. Crispin is the second child of Sisa. He is a 7-year-old, often talks about silly things, and is Sisa's favorite son. He is an altar boy. He was unjustly accused of stealing money from the church. Crispin was described as a clever boy making up riddles. Pilosopo Tasio, known as Pilosopo Tasio, short for Anastasio, was an older scholar living in San Diego, thought of as a lunatic due to his unorthodox ideas. He became an advisor for several individuals in town. He spent most of his money on books and now lives in poverty. He is a pessimist. Pilosopo Tasio was an intelligent and sagacious individual, displaying love for philosophy and learning since his time as a student. He symbolizes the learned Filipino. Rizal can relate Pilosopo Tasio in the novel to his character of his oldest brother, Pasiano Rizal.